I'm Elisa Martinez. We are freshmen at George Washington University who recently came up with an idea centered on current events internationally and domestically.
In case you don't know, GW is located in D.C., the heart of international affairs and politics in the United States. One would think that living in the city with so many resources and culture regularly present, that people would be on top of current events. However, we've come to notice that everyday college students with internships, extracurriculars, homework, and regular jobs, as well as the regular hardworking American, does not always have the time to read the newspapers regularly, research websites, watch hour-long news broadcasts, etc.
This is why we are creating Project Easy News. Project Easy News will consist of biweekly 10-minute online videos that will serve to summarize global current events. Our point is to keep the news efficient and simple. We understand nobody has the time or energy to read through long articles regularly, especially a college student.
So we're doing it for you. With your support, we hope to broaden this project to making daily videos, a website, an active Twitter and Facebook group, and so much more. And if you go to GW, our goal is to eventually make this into a student org.
But for now, our videos will consist of primarily international and domestic affairs, not including specific business or sports sections due to the fact that there are only 2 of us at the moment. To start off our awesome videos, we would like to do a quick clip of the current state of the Republican candidates and their policies. To begin, there are currently 5 candidates running for the Republican nomination who will then run against President Obama in November of 2012. They are Newt Gingrich, Mitt Romney, Rick Santorum, Ron Paul, and Buddy Roemer. Here is a general overview of the candidates and their policies according to CNN and their individual websites.
This is Newt Gingrich. He was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on June 17, 1943. He was 58th Speaker of the House from 1995 to 1999 under the Clinton administration and representative of Georgia's 6th Congressional District from 1979 to 1999. When looking at his views on the economy, he opposes Obama's economic policies, he wants to make the Bush-era tax cuts permanent, he wants to eliminate capital gain, corporate tax rates, and the estate tax, and he wants to make significant changes to the banking and financial regulation to how the Environmental Protection Agency and the Food and Drug Administration operate. When looking at his views on health care, he wants to repeal and replace the Democratic health care reform bill. He wants to make a pro-jobs, pro-responsibility health plan that puts doctors and patients in charge of health and decisions instead of bureaucrats. And this plan includes passing medical malpractice reform, changing the tax treatment for health insurance premiums, making substantial changes to Medicare and Medicaid, making health savings account more available, and allowing health insurance to be sold across state lines. When looking at his foreign policy views, he believes that we're in a long war against radical Islamism, and he wants to rethink everything in the region of the Middle East, including Afghanistan, Iraq, and he thinks that we need to recognize that Iran is on offense and that our troops are in danger. He's also critical of the U.S. involvement in Libya. When looking at immigration, he wants to make English the official language of the United States, and he proposed to use local citizen boards to decide which undocumented immigrants should be allowed to stay in the country. And then finally, when looking at same-sex marriage, he supports for a federal law that defines marriage as between a man and a woman for federal purposes.
This is Mitt Romney. Willard M. Mitt Romney, born on March 12, 1947, in Detroit, Michigan. His home is Boston, Massachusetts. A former businessman and governor, this will be his 2nd attempt for the Republican nomination for the Oval Office. He lost to Arizona Senator John McCain in 2008. His religion is Mormonism. In terms of the economy, he expresses support in cut, cap, and balance, approach to curbing federal deficit spending. In terms of health care, he wants to repeal the health care reform bill passed by Barack Obama's administration. He has signed a health care bill while he was governor, which was compared to the Democratic bill, but he argues that it was for the benefit of the individual state and not the entire country. If elected, he will issue waivers to all 50 states, which would allow them to opt out federal plan on his first day in Oval Office. In terms of foreign policy, he says he will pursue a strategy of American strength, instead of apologizing for America abroad and leading from behind. In terms of immigration, he has expressed support for giving green cards to highly educated workers in order to meet the needs of employers. He says that borders need to be more secure and that the government should be more strict on employers who hire undocumented workers. In terms of same-sex marriage, he has come out in favor of a federal definition of marriage. In terms of abortion, His spokespeople have described him as pro-life. However, he has refused to sign an anti-abortion pledge created by the Susan B. Anthony List, a conservative organization that opposes abortion, because he believes that it has potential consequences.
This is Ron Paul. He was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on August 20th, 1935. He has served in Congress for 3 different terms. The first was from 1976 to 1977 after winning a special election. The second was from 1979 to 1985 as representative of Texas's 22nd District, and the third was from 1997 until now, serving as the representative of Texas's 14th District. When looking at his terms on economy, he has criticized the Federal Reserve and he wants it eliminated. He's recently voted against 2 bills increasing the U.S. debt ceiling, and he wants to return to the U.S. to the gold standard, to do a thorough audit of the Fed's books, and to audit all of the U.S. gold holdings at Fort Knox. When looking at health care, he wants to repeal the Democratic Health Care Reform Bill, and he favors allowing insurance to be sold across state lines and expanding access to health savings accounts. In foreign policy, he has been opposed to the U.S. military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan for years, and he's a critic of an expansionist approach to foreign policy. He recently voted in favor of proposals intended to put limits on U.S. involvement in Libya. On immigration, he opposes requiring businesses to verify employees' immigration stats, and he's against amnesty for undocumented immigrants already in the country. He doesn't believe in giving entitlements to undocumented immigrants or mandating states to do so. He wants to increase border security, and in 2010, he voted against the DREAM Act. Finally, when looking at same-sex marriage, he believes in man and woman marriage, and he thinks that the states should deal with the issues of same-sex marriage when needed.
This is Rick Santorum. Richard John Rick Santorum was born May 10, 1958, and was elected to the House of Representatives in 1990, then elected as Senator of Pennsylvania 4 years later. In terms of the economy, he says he will push to reduce the corporate tax rate to 0 for firms that engage in manufacturing. He does not support raising taxes, and he believes that government spending has exploded. In terms of health care, he criticizes the health care bill enacted by Mitt Romney in Massachusetts. He believes in a principled conservative who believes in not government mandates, not in government control of the healthcare system, but in a patient-centered approach to healthcare. In terms of foreign policy, he favors an expansionist, interventionist approach to the protection of U.S. power and military force overseas. He contends that Iran is a powerful threat to Israel, a U.S. ally, and he believes that we should call the war what it is: war with radical Islam. In terms of immigration, he has spoken against giving government services to undocumented immigrants and has voted in favor of several measures that involve the building of fences along the U.S.-Mexico border. In terms of same-sex marriage, he believes in traditional definition of marriage, has voted in favor of marriage between a man and a woman for federal purposes, and believes that the U.S. cannot have 50 marriage laws.
This is Buddy Romer. He was born in Shreveport, Louisiana on October 4th, 1943. He was the 52nd governor of Louisiana from 1988 to 1992 and was the representative of Louisiana's 4th District from 1981 to 1988. In March of 1991, while governor, he switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. When looking at his views on the economy, it's important to notice that he wants to balance the federal budget, wants to improve annual reductions in federal spending equal to 1% of gross domestic product, and he wants to reduce federal spending to 18% of GDP. On healthcare, he favors allowing healthcare insurance to be sold across state lines and medical malpractice reform to deal with frivolous lawsuits. In foreign policy, he supports increasing sanctions on Iran to further isolate its oppressive government and wants to work to promote the democratic movement sweeping across the region. He also wants the mission in Afghanistan to be concluded responsibly. On immigration, he advocates securing the border first and accountability for businesses that violate immigration laws. And finally, in same-sex marriage, he believes in traditional marriage but believes it's an issue for the states to handle. And if elected, he said that he would tell the Justice Department to defend the Defense of Marriage Act.
It has been recently projected that Mitt Romney will win the Florida primary, resulting in his front-running status for the GOP presidential nomination. However, only time will tell who will win the Republican nomination.
If you're interested in learning more about something we discussed tonight, please see our sources listed below the video. Also, please remember that our first full broadcast will come out on Thursday, February 2nd, and that we will be having regular 10-minute broadcasts on every Sunday and Thursday following this date. Thank you for watching our first video. Hope you learned a little something about the Republican candidates.
Bye!
Bye!